Hello again, guys. It's Yaiko Chia here, back with another what video on the channel. So, guys, this is a two-part story because it's really short, and I just wrote it on the fly thanks to an idea I got given as I was reading some of the comments on these videos. This is what if Naruto was an emperor. So, let's get straight into this video. So, guys, we're gonna start off this video at the Sasuke retrieval arc. Right now we see Naruto and Sasuke fighting. What they're actually fighting for is, Sasuke has been possessed by the curse mark and he's not in his right mind of thought. Is, they're battling with Naruto, which Naruto then enters his QB fight state. But, in his QB stage, Naruto doesn't really think, he's only focused on anger and stuff, he's not fully in control of himself. So, Naruto, then goes ahead, and defeats Sasuke as he carries him back to the Leaf Village. Kakashi still meets him on the way as he takes Naruto and Sasuke back to the Leaf. When they reach the Leaf, Sasuke is taken to hospital as well as Naruto, which Naruto, has severe wounds, which, Tsunade actually, is called to treat the severe wounds, since they're affected, by lightning chakra. So, after the healing process is done, Naruto wakes up earlier than Sasuke as he goes to Sasuke's room. As he goes to Sasuke's room, he's then met up by, with Ino and Sakura. Which, Sakura, is pretty angry about how, how Naruto defeated Sasuke, and how he put Sasuke in a terrible state. So she slaps Naruto and tells him that she never wants to see him again, that, the villagers are right, he's just a demon, and he will never amount to anything in his life. Which, these words actually reach Naruto, because, these are the words of his crush, bruh, the person, he's been trying to get for a long time now. After Naruto exits the hospitals, he sees, the village is in a joyous mood, he's like, what's going on? He eventually heads over, to the Okage mountain, or the Okage office, where, he's then taken over the council room. At the council room, Naruto is then told by Danzo Shimura that Naruto, you are hereby banished from the Hidden Leaf Village for harming a Konoha shinobi, also doing some other crimes which are not stated in this. So, Naruto this time, is not gonna cry or do some fucked up shit as in other what ifs. No, he's actually gonna take this stuff like a man. Since, he's already broken inside. His will, is cracked beyond repair now. So, after this, he then goes over, to his house, where, he sees, two scrolls on his table, and then they're, from Jiraiya Sensei. He then opens these scrolls as he finds the letters from his parents, as well as, where he's supposed to go to get, his inheritance. So after this, Naruto, then heads over, to, the Okage Mountain, as he heads over into, the woods towards the Forest of Death. When he runs into the Forest of Death, he then takes another path in the forest, as it leads him to a compound which is there. Which this compound is a giant N and an M, an M, an N, and an M, which stand for Namikaze and Uzumaki. Yeah, something like that. So, Naruto enters this compound, as he goes inside. He then, searches for a bit as he finds, the seals which he's been looking for. Naruto then pumps chakra into the seals, as the whole compound, starts to shrink and shrink and shrink, as it eventually, gets rolled up into a scroll. Everything with the gates, the tree, the grass, everything. So what's just left, is just a forest, and then a few trees then pop up to close the place. Until, Naruto wants to bring back the compound and place it there, there's not going to be any compound. So after that, Naruto then takes that big scroll and seals it into a very small scroll, which he then puts in his pouch. He then goes over and takes the other scrolls as he then leaves the village. So, before he leaves, he makes a clone, which, is going to leave as him. But, it's going to leave on the day of the banishment. He doesn't want to get tracked. He also then creates some other shadow clones, to head over different places. So, one of the shadow clones heads to the land of snow, one heads to the land of bears, one heads to fire through Iron Country, all those other places, in search of, different things. Those shadow clones are very much reinforced, since, you used, Naruto's chakra into them, so they're gonna still, we must say, they can stay up for a year, as long as they don't take any exclusive damage. So, Naruto seeing this, then goes into his mindscape as he then has a talk with the QB. In this one, Naruto had already befriended the Kyuubi much earlier when he was 8 years old. Flashback, Naruto's 8th birthday. On Naruto's 8th birthday, the village was in a joyous mood as they're gonna beat up the demon. So they beat up Naruto black and blue. They put him, on a wooden cross as they lit him up on fire. The Hokage quickly came into action, as he then killed these villagers, not even wasting time. He killed these villagers and, took Naruto. He then took Naruto to get healed. But, the healing process was very long. But thanks to the Nine Tails, it was much faster. Naruto, during all this pain, managed to enter his mindscape, as he then found the Nine Tails and started chatting with the Nine Tails. So, he then asked the Nine Tails if he could train it, if he could be trained by the Nine Tails. And the Nine Tails agreed to this, since he wanted to see what would become of this. So, the Nine Tails then eventually trained Naruto, to combat like its full power. But Naruto was not ready for it. Because, until like Naruto reaches 15, he's not going to be able to control the full power of the Nine Tails. But, as time goes along, he's going to be able to. So, after this, the Kyuubi taught Naruto different jutsus, taijutsu styles, kenjutsu, seals, and everything that. But Naruto was holding back all this knowledge so that the village wouldn't think that the demon is quite smart. So, this mask of Naruto, almost became a personality by now, but the Kyuubi made sure of it that, Naruto remembers who he actually is. So, Naruto, then asked the Kyuubi, if he knows a place where Naruto can go and lay low. Which the Kyuubi then said, yes, yeah, there's a place you can go, but, you're gonna be leaving the elemental nations for a while now. Which Naruto seeing this, says, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Let's go. Since, the Akatsuki are gonna also come after me, let's dip. So Naruto and the Kyuubi, then dip from, the elemental nations as they head over to the west. At the west. It takes Naruto up to 2 weeks while constantly running on water to arrive at the west. As he arrives at the west, he sees like this place, is looking desolate. There's not much life here. People are fighting and lots of stuff, And Naruto, then goes over and sees like one group of people, which are there. Naruto, then asks like about the shit which is going on, which, one of these people explains to him. Ero then decides to, what, I need to rally up these people. Maybe I can actually build maybe something like a village or an empire, Naruto says to himself. So, Naruto, with the help of the Kyuubi, they then begin fighting. They begin going over multiple battles, because of Naruto's talk no jutsu, he quickly rallies people over to his side as Naruto starts fighting. So this is gonna take Naruto 3 gruesome years of fighting. Like, no cap. Along the way, Naruto was joined up with these types of people. He was also joined by this girl, which, he found this person, like, she was sealed up in a cave. So, flashback. Naruto and his army, were just resting, in the valley. Naruto decided to go and explore a cave which was nearby, just to check, if there was anything of importance in it, because, people on the side usually hide stuff in different caves. So as he entered the cave, he came across this door, which had, like, some multiple seals on it. As Naruto, opened the door. As he opened the door, a woman was inside. She was, like, bound with shackles and everything, but there was a sword, leaning by the wall. Naruto then went inside, as he then asked the woman, who she was, and she then says, my name is Otoria Pendragon. I was once the princess of, Camelot, which used to be here, but, everything has been destroyed. I was put in this seal, to seal me away for my own safety. When I wanted to go and help, they just took my sword and sealed me away. So Naruto then says, if I release you, will you help me in my conquest of, like, uniting the West? Which, she then agrees, with Naruto's conquest, as, Naruto then sets her free. After setting her free, they then go along to battle for, these 3 years with her. Along these 3 years, Naruto has also learned, to crush on her. As, she also learned that, she also likes Naruto, as they eventually then got together, and, they began dating. So, we then cut back, to the main story. In the main story, Naruto has finally united the West. It took one major battle, but with the help of Kurama, the Nine Tails, which was sealed fully into him, it was much easier. Naruto, by just threatening with using some tailed beast bombs and the swiping of tails, the battle was pretty swift and he didn't lose any people on his side. So the warlord eventually gave up and he was slain along with his house. So after this, Naruto then goes over to unite everyone here. Is they then start to build up the palace and everything, the cities and all, which Naruto then looks for like one city in particular, which is at the center of everything, and then names that his capital, which Naruto is gonna name Moonlight Capital. I think if I don't forget this yet, it's Moonlight Capital. So in this capital, it's gonna be looking like this. Let me pause for a minute. So the capital is gonna be looking something like this, in this type of manner. Or the house, and the wall surrounding it. There's also like a moat of water in this long bridge. But there's also a barrier thanks to Naruto. He applied some barrier seals. It only lets people with good intentions and a pure heart inside. But as long as you have like the specific seal which is on your shoulder, which everyone has, you can enter the barrier safely if you don't have a good heart or anything like that. So continue on with the video. After his capital was built, it was pretty much swift, thanks to the help of shadow clones and the materials they've been gathering and all that stuff. So Naruto is then named the Emperor of the West after uniting it, which Naruto gladly accepts this role, as well as a few months after he then marries Artoria Pendragon, his wife, or Artoria Uzumaki Namikaze Pendragon, Artoria Namikaze Pendragon, or Uzumaki, depending, or Uzukaze, or Artoria Uzukaze Pendragon, depending on what you want to talk about it in what way. So Naruto's clones flashback. Naruto's clones has been roaming around the elemental nations for a while now. As the years have gone by since they have also popped. They've been also using the technique of conjuring some nature energy, thanks to the words of the Nine Toes, to keep going. Along their journeys, they've found some interesting stuff and done some interesting things. They also started, a mentioned house, which is Moonlight Merchant House. This merchant house, as like most merchants, it began trading with all countries in the elemental nations, including the Leaf Village. So it was like it's almost like Gotter's shipping company, but better in more ways than one. So Naruto's shipping house, is like worldwide. It trades with the sand, because we know the sand village is a lack of water. It transports water to the sand, fresh vegetables, food, meats, all that stuff, weapons, the stuff which is needed. At the leaf, it also trades some goods, gold, silver, iron, chakra metal, everything. So yeah, it's almost like a necessity now, because it's taken over most of the major guilds which are there in the elemental nations. So Naruto basically controls the trade. With one flick of its finger, a country can lose all this trade and they cannot do shit about it. Even when the filer tried to buy the mentioned house out, it couldn't work for him, since he has like his crazy stuff he wanted to demand, but it didn't work out straight for him, because let's just say half of his army was taken out by a few shinobi which are unknown, which were masks. So other activities in the elemental nations. The Akatsuki practically has captured almost all tailed beasts, except for the 8 and 9 tails. The 1 tails has been captured, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. The 8 and 9 are still at large. So Zeta has been looking for the 9 tails, but has failed to find it, since it appears not to appear anyway. So that's where it's like at a standstill until the 9 tails resurfaces. They're gonna finally capture the 8 tails, which they do manage to do, since they send like Pain goes to where the 8 tails is. He just uses the Shinra Tensei, Pancho Jenny, and Pancho Devastation as he then seals up the 8 tails into the Gero statue. So at first, they think about using Inkaku and Genkaku, but they say, they need the nitros, since the statue with that little chakra of the nitros might go unstable and blow up, which they do not want. So Naruto then decides, to take a trip to the west, which he is like wearing his casual stuff, as well as Athoria. They're wearing their casual stuff, as they're just like visiting, the east to just check out the stuff which is there. And they're also gonna be heading over to the village in the Woopus, because Naruto wants to go there and like get some stuff which is clones to scarf it, but could not transport because of their less chakra. So with Naruto, we see Naruto and Athoria walking, as well as being accompanied by 12 guards. These guards are the royal knights. They have been trained by Athoria in the art of the sword, and trained by Naruto in the way of chakra and everything, so that their abilities are at the top. So these guys are like the best of the best. They've been going through grueling training to make sure they are legit people. It's not just working. Some of Zetsu's clones get wind of this, and the whole Akatsuki pulls up on Naruto and this let's just say it's in a lake area. As the whole Akatsuki pulls up, as well as Pain. So Pain then says 9 tails were here for you. Shino then says Akatsuki, okay, let's just get this over with. So they start fighting. The 12 people then take on they then take on Kisame, Itachi, Deidara, no, yeah, Deidara is still alive, Deidara, Sosori, Naruto then takes on, the paths with as well as Astoria. They then take out the paths of pain. After Naruto, defeats, like the reviving parts, he then goes, to kill the summoning part. The diva part, also gets killed. The robotic part, gets diced as well. So, Naruto then takes like one of the black rods and stabs himself as he then finds Pain. When he finds Pain, him and Pain, still have that chat about peace and everything, which Naruto then says, there's still a way, for you to succeed with your plan to bring peace to this world. Which Pain is like, how am I gonna do this? I'm crippled and everything. Which Naruto then says, there's a way to fix you being crippled, but you're gonna have to, lose the Renegan. Which Pain, like has to think for a bit, as he then finally agrees to lose the Renegan. So, Naruto then takes he sends a shadow clone which takes Pain and Conan to his villages. They also then take the body of Yaiko and the other paths as well, since they've been restored by Pain. Then take them to Nature's empire. After Naruto does this, it's only Black Zetsu and Obito which are left alive. So Sori, is taken out. His puppet heart, is killed, but they take the body, for further study. Itachi and Kisame manage to escape, since they saw that Akatsuki has pretty much been defeated. There's no use, so they pretty much dip with Itachi heading back to the Leaf Village, which he's then pardoned of his crimes. With Kisame also heading back to Kiri, which the Mazukage pardoned him of his crimes. Yeah. So Naruto then heads back to his empire, where he's gonna discuss some stuff with Nagato at the Leaf Village. The Leaf Village, has been struggling for a bit. Since they banished Naruto, they've been struggling a bit or a lot. They've lost 25% of their funding. Missions are becoming a bit more scarce for them, but they are managing. Since Pain did not attack, the village is still standing. So now there's still Okage, Jiraiya. When he heard the news when he heard the news from another time was gonna be banished, he then left the scrolls for Naruto. Since Minato had instructed him to do it, because he knew that this might happen sooner or later. They might eventually banish his kid. So he then gave the scrolls to Naruto. So they then find out about the empire at the west, which they're like, the empire at the west. This might actually be an exciting thing for once. If we can get an alliance with those people, it might benefit our village. So they then send an envoy to the west, which is gonna consist of Danzo, Jiraiya, Kakashi, um, Kurenai, who's Kurenai? It's Asuma, Shikamaru, Choji, Sakura, Sasuke, and the rest of the gang, except for Guy, Lee, and Neji. Hinata is also gonna be there, and Chino. Uh, Kiba, no, is not gonna be there. So these people then head over to the west by boat, since it's gonna take a while. It's gonna take for them about a week to arrive there. So yeah, with Naruto. Right now, Naruto has been discussing, with Nagato, or Pain as we know him. He has been talking with them, about how this world has been working, how Naruto has, came to accomplish peace. He then tells Nagato, that, destruction is first needed, but, the way of peace is always the best way. So, Nagato then acknowledges this, but, he then tells Naruto that, Naruto should take his eyes, since, knows that the fake Mario is going to come for them. Which Naruto then agrees to this, as, they then have a surgery, where, him and Naruto exchange eyes, with Naruto, giving him the normal eyes and Naruto getting the Renegan. So Naruto, gains the Renegan, he's able to turn it off. Nagato also teaches them, about the paths, how to, summon these paths, how to summon the paths, how to summon the ghetto statue, which, he then tells them that, they have like almost every child beast in it. Which Naruto then asks, if like complete the statue and put like the nitros in it, what would happen? Which he then says, the resurrection of the Jubi will be complete. Which Naruto then thinks about, maybe having military power won't be so bad. So, Naruto then summons the husk of the ten tails, says, he then like unseals Kurama from himself, since he can survive now, he unseals Kurama. And Kurama then changes, the personality of the ghetto statue. As it then turns into the nine-toed, or the ten-toed wolf, with one no, not the ten-toed wolf. It's gonna turn into the ten toes, but it's not gonna be that raging wild one. No, it's gonna be a calm and disciplined one, since Kurama's influence is greater on it, rather than someone else suppressing like the influence of the child beast. So after this, Naruto then shows the statue within himself is his skin like almost turns pearl like, but Naruto also like has visions of a woman who is like trapped somewhere. Sorry for that. So Naruto then unseals this woman, which we know this woman is Kaguya Otsutsuki. He unseals Kaguya, which Kaguya also becomes one of Naruto's lovers later on in the story. So after unsealing Kaguya, now she's shocked and about this strange world. Naruto introduces her. She then shares her story with Naruto, which Naruto is like, yeah, I do agree that the world does not need chakra, but you should know that people do need this thing to survive. So Naruto then explains to Kaguya and does a heavy talk no jutsu on her, which Kaguya, reluctantly eventually agrees with Naruto that, she's not gonna take away the world's chakra. So, Naruto and Kaguya then enter a soul binding contract, which is like a master servant contract, but something like that. But Kaguya is not a servant, she's like, one of Naruto's subordinates and eventual lover, since, Naruto got that crazy Uzumaki stamina, and, Authority cannot finish it on her own, so it's gonna need, some other people to help, which is gonna be like, a polygamous marriage. But they're not gonna fight for the children are not gonna fight for the throne, since these three beings are like immortal now. So yeah, they're gonna be there for a while. So the envoy from the Hidden Leaf eventually arrives to Naruto's village, where with Naruto's empire, which is the Moonlight Empire, as they then enter. So guys, this is where I'm gonna leave off this video. I hope you like and subscribe to the channel. If you want a part 2, you're gonna have to like give me 40 likes on this, because I know you guys can smash that, and about maybe 900 views or something like that, depending on what you guys do. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Peace out.